What's up, everybody? Today I want to talk about a comic book series written by R.L. Stine that was released from September 2022 to December of 2022, a four-issue comic called Stuff of Nightmares. And this is a single story split up into four issues. And it's unlike most of the stuff that R.L. Stine does. It's more targeted towards an adult audience, so there are plenty of gory illustrations and more of a mature story here. And I want to talk about this because I feel like I haven't seen it get a lot of attention, and I think it deserves to be talked about. I just finished reading it recently, all four issues, and I really enjoyed it. So, yeah, let's talk about this a little bit. First, I'll kind of show off what they look like here. I have many different covers. For those of you who might not be into comics much or know a lot about them, which I really am not either, to be honest, I just started learning more about comics as I was getting into these. I don't really have a lot of experience with them. I don't know why, I've just never really been into them all that much, but I do have many different versions of the Stuff of Nightmare comics here. There are several different cover arts for each issue. There's a lot of limited edition ones, and I'll kind of just go through and show off the ones that I have real quick. I don't have nearly all of them, and I probably won't collect them all because some of them are pretty expensive. But anyways, starting with issue 1, this is a supposedly glow-in-the-dark, like full art version. This one is by Tim Jacobus, and I don't really know why it's called glow in the dark because I tried it and it doesn't seem to work. But anyways, this is a glow in the dark version. This is the Tim Jacobus's artwork here, and these are all issue 1. These first ones I'm showing you. This is another one here. I love the artwork on these two. These are very, very cool. I really like this one. This one is kind of like a Fear Street cover. This one is really sweet. Hopefully you can see these okay, and there's not much of a glare or anything, I'm hoping. This is another full art glow-in-the-dark one. And then this is my last one, or version of issue 1 that I have, or cover variant. So I have 4 variants of issue 1. Alright, then I have, and I really just got all of these for collectible purposes. Obviously, you really don't need to have all these different covers. And there's also the bind up, which is all 4 issues in like one paperback copy coming out in April. So if you really don't care to collect these at all, you can just wait till that comes out and then get the entire story in one book, which is a bit more practical. I'll probably end up buying that anyway. All right, now on to issue 2. We have this one, which is really cool. At least I think this one is issue 2. I'm actually not seeing. Oh yeah, it is number 2. This one looks like the old Tales from the Crypt, like EC horror comic covers. I really like that one. Then we have this one here. And then we have this one here. This one is also very cool. Basically, I just bought the covers that I think look cool as my favorite ones. There's a few more that I would like to collect, but after how many I've already bought, I just can't really justify spending more money at these at the moment. Maybe in the future I'll try to collect all of them, but there's a lot I don't have, and some of them, like I said, are a bit pricey, so I don't know. We'll see. That's it. I have 3 variants of issue 2. All right, moving on to issue 3, we have this one here. We have this one. Not really sure what this one is supposed to be. It kind of looks like it's supposed to be referencing or paying homage to something, but I'm not sure what exactly. And then we have this one. I like this one because it looks like an old movie poster, kind of horror movie poster is what it reminds me of, for like a Frankenstein film or something. And this story is also kind of like a Frankenstein story. I'll talk about that here in a minute. And then my last issue 3 cover I have is this one, and I love this one. It's a very basic, like kind of almost sketch style artwork, but I really like this one. I like the kind of haunted house and the glowing red eyes there overlooking the house. I think that one is sweet. All right, now moving on to the last one, issue 4. We have, I'm going to save one of my favorites for last. We have this one. We have this one here. And then this is one of my favorite ones here. This is my last issue 4 I have, and this one is supposed to be like the old Super Nintendo cover of Castlevania. And I was a bit of a gamer growing up, so this one just really appeals to me. I love it. I think that one is sweet. All right, and then my last two issues that I have are limited edition ones. I have these ones in top loaders to protect them. And these are a little bit rare and collectible. They're not like super expensive or anything. But these ones are a little bit more rare than the other copies. So the first one I have is this one here, and this is issue 1. And I just think this is awesome. I don't know why, but I absolutely love this. Super, super cool. And then this is my personal favorite one, and this is a copy of issue 2, a limited edition one. And yeah, this one is super sweet. This one kind of reminds me of like an old horror movie poster as well. I just love it. This girl is like screaming and her hands are just soaked in blood, and it's just so cool. Just reminds me of like just like a throwback to like old horror movies of like the 70s and 80s, and I love the art style on it. So cool. So yeah, those are all the different issues I have. So the story to this is basically a modern retelling of Frankenstein, but like a very campy, kind of trashy version of Frankenstein. It's about these two brothers who are mad scientists, and they're essentially just trying to bring dead people back to life. They're doing these experiments, like using body parts to build these monsters. And there's just a lot of chaos that ensues in the first issue. I don't want to spoil too much, but I'll tell you a little bit what happens in the first issue. Their warehouse and the place where they're performing these experiments, it kind of like burns down, and some of these monsters escape, and these two brothers, they have to retreat, and then they set up shop in this old like haunted house. And yeah, it's just a lot of craziness ensues. There's a lot of violence. There's a lot of really great gory illustrations in this. And I'll just be upfront, I really enjoyed this. So I'm not somebody that has a lot of experience reading comic books. I've just never been into them a lot for whatever reason. I prefer to read books without pictures in them. But I really enjoyed reading through these Stuff of Nightmares comics. I really don't have any negatives to say about it other than it was very short, but I think that seems to be the nature of comics from what a little bit I have read so far, including this, and then I've also been reading a couple others somewhat recently. And they just seem to be very short, to the point. Of course, there's more of a focus on the artwork. It takes up a lot of the page count. There's only like, these issues are really short. There's only like maybe, I don't know, 20 pages per issue, roughly. So yeah, they're very like just short, to the point. And these do feel a little bit jam-packed. Like there's almost seems like there's a bit too much story for the length of these comics. Seems like they tried to cram too much in to what little bit we get here. And this is like the whole, all 4 issues, not just the first issue. So I would have liked to maybe get a little bit more of this. Like I wished it would have been a little bit longer. Maybe this could have been like 7 or 8 issues instead of 4. I don't know. But I did have a lot of fun with it, and the illustrations were great. I thought the writing was pretty good for being how short this was. And I just think this deserves a little bit more notice and attention. I feel like I haven't seen anybody really talk about these Stuff of Nightmares comics yet. And again, kind of take this with a grain of salt, because I don't have a lot of experience with comics, so I don't have much to compare this to, or like a standard to hold these against. I don't know how comics usually run, like what the standard is, what's considered good, what's not good. But I really enjoyed reading this. And again, I'm a huge R.L. Stine fan too, so maybe that's just, I'm a little bit biased. This is very much R.L. Stine. You get a lot of the dialogue in here is, you can tell is clearly written by R.L. Stine. Some of it is just very campy, very cheesy. You have a little bit of a like love interest in these as well that harkens back to sort of that cheesy like teen melodrama that you would see in Fear Street, where there's jealousy between the two brothers. They're both interested in this one girl that's kind of like their assistant. It's very much similar to something you would read out of a Fear Street novel. So these are very much R.L. Stine in terms of the writing. But that's a good thing, though. I'm a huge R.L. Stine fan. Perhaps someone who's a more seasoned comic book reader, maybe isn't as much of an R.L. Stine fan, might not enjoy these quite as much. I don't know. But yeah, I thought these were great. I don't know what else to say about them. I just wanted to make a quick video and talk about these a little bit, because I really enjoyed it, and I I highly recommend it. There is a little bit of some odd pacing in the middle two issues. I think issue 2, from what I remember, just felt like it was sort of building up to what happens in issues 3 and 4. So I think the first issue and then the last issue were the most exciting ones, where the most stuff happened. The middle ones had a little bit of just downtime, and it just felt like it was building up the story a little bit. Not as much happened. There wasn't as much action in them. But the climax of this group was great. There's some, like I said, there's some pretty awesome and violent illustrations, and the ending is really cool too. There's a particular creature in here named Frankie. He's like a little miniature monster that these scientists created, and he sort of ties into like this twist ending that happens. That's sort of, typical R.L. Stine fare, and I really liked how they kind of squeezed him into the story. It was really neat. But again, it just did feel like there could have been more. The ending was a bit abrupt, and it just felt like I wanted more. So that's really the only negative I have about this. So yeah, Stuff of Nightmares by R.L. Stine. If you're a comic book reader, maybe even if you're not really that big into comics, maybe check this out. I think it's pretty good. And if you don't want to pay like $5 a piece for these individual issues, wait for the paperback bind-up to come out, which contains all 4 issues. And that comes out, I believe, in April. So in a couple more months, you can get the entire story in one book. And I'm going to be buying that as well to add to my collection. And I almost forgot to mention that there is sort of like a narrator for the story called the Nightmare Keeper. And he's kind of like R.L. Stine's take on the Crypt Keeper. He sort of introduces the story, and then he comes back at the end to kind of like wrap up the events and kind of tease the next issue. And he has like some witty jokes and things like that. And I really enjoy the Nightmare Keeper a lot. R.L. Stine has sort of toyed with this idea before in some of the Goosebumps books. R.L. Stine introduces, or has Slappy introduce the stories in the Slappy World series. And then in the Most Wanted series, I think R.L. Stine himself sort of like introduces the story. So he's kind of done this idea a little bit before, but I think the Nightmare Keeper is his best version of a knockoff like Crypt Keeper type character that he's done. I really enjoyed the Nightmare Keeper's like banter and kind of jokes in these, and the way he introduces each story. I really like that. And it very dark, kind of adds to the tone of these stories, and it's also just kind of funny too, some of the things he comes up with. And I don't want to spoil anything, but at the very end of this story, at issue 4, he sort of teases the possibility of there being a continuation. And I would love to see that, because I want more of the Nightmare Keeper. I absolutely love this character. I almost want like a story based on this character, maybe an anthology series this time, instead of like a single story like this was. I think that would be really cool, and I think there's definitely a lot that can be done there. I'm really not too sure that it's going to happen. I'm really not that hopeful about it, to be honest, but I would love to see it, because the Nightmare Keeper was just such a cool character. But have you read Stuff of Nightmares? Let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. And that's pretty much all I have for today, guys. So thanks so much for watching. Peace.